It has now been 5 months since I fitted the KMS Thunderstorm exhaust to my Focus ST, and in today's video we're going to be completing the system with a KMS 3-inch downpipe. Now I'm not expecting the downpipe to make any difference really to the sound. I'm mostly doing it just for the increase in flow, ready for more power, and I simply went with the KMS just because I wanted to make sure the system was all together, and as you saw in the last video, I was very happy with the Thunderstorm, so why not go with the same company? I'm going to go for a little drive, get the exhaust system warmed up to hopefully loosen the bolts up a little bit, and then we can get the car up in the air, start taking the stock one off. After a good 30-minute drive just to get the exhaust nice and warm, I got the front end of the car jacked up and on jack stands. So now that the car's up in the air, we can start getting the stock downpipe off. The first thing to take off is the cat. With that out of the way, then we can get up to the bolts where the downpipe connects to the turbo, get the old one out and start putting the new one in. Like I said then, just got to remove the decat first by unplugging the sensor, then cracking the bolts loose, connecting it to the stock downpipe and removing them. And the same again where it connects to the mid-pipe. Once it's pulled off the rubber hanger, it's free to come out. Okay, so with the cat off, we are under the car, right at the front of the engine. And just there you can see where the downpipe connects to the turbo. There you go. So there's all 3 bolts there. Pretty sure I can get the bottom 2 from the bottom. Might have to go up to the top of the engine bay just to get one at the top, just because I'm not sure I'll be able to get a spanner in there. But those are 3 bolts, and obviously need to disconnect the sensor as well there, which runs up to the top of the engine bay, so I'll do that quickly now and then we can start cracking those 3 bolts loose. The sensor disconnects by simply pulling up the plastic clip and then pulling them apart. With that disconnected and out the way, it's then time to start removing the downpipe bolts. I did have to use a different spanner or ratchet for each bolt, as they all have different ways of getting to them. Once they're all cracked loose, a 10mm ratchet spanner was the best tool to wind them out completely. Before the downpipe can come out, I had to remove the wipers and scuttle panel so I could get to the bolt holding it to the heat shield. And as usual, I dropped the bolt into the abyss. With everything thoroughly removed, I pushed the downpipe off the rubber hangers. Then it's just a case of squeezing it over the brace and through the heat shields, making sure the sensor doesn't get caught on anything. With it free, it's then time for the very attractive wiggle from underneath the car, and that's the downpipe off. With the old one out then, I just wanted to show you a quick comparison of the new KMS on the right and obviously the stock on the left. Again, pretty much the only big difference is going to be the diameter. As you can see there, I'm not sure what the stock diameter is, maybe someone can drop that in the comments, but the KMS on the right is 3-inch, so this is going to help the turbo breathe a little bit and get us ready for more power. All I've got to do is get the sensor out of the stock one, get it into the KMS, and then we can start fitting it to the car. As always, these are very tight, but it's nothing my vice. A bit of WD-40 and a hammer couldn't sort out. Just got to screw it into the new one and make sure it's tight. And that is the new downpipe all ready to be fitted. The sensor is back in, and I did also order a new gasket, and as you can see, just in one of each corner I've put a tiny little bit of exhaust paste just to hold the gasket in while I get it into the car. Now that that's ready, we can get it fitted. Back under the car then, and it's the same technique as getting the stock one out. Just got to squeeze it past the brace and through the heat shields and make sure the sensor plug is fed up into the engine bay. With it roughly into position, I got the rubber hangers hooked on to hold it in place while I bolt it in. Using my trusty 10mm ratchet spanner, I screwed the bolts in, taking it in turns with each bolt to make sure the downpipe goes on evenly and sits flush. As there's very little space up by the turbo, it's a case of many short movements back and forth to get the bolts in, but once I got them in all the way, I did get them nice and snug off camera with a bigger spanner. I then plugged the sensor back in and clipped it back onto the bracket. All that's left to do is apply some exhaust paste to the flange. As you may know from the exhaust video, the KMS exhausts don't use gaskets, they're just press fit and only require some exhaust paste. Off camera, I also reapplied the exhaust paste to both ends of the decat and also the mid pipe. Time then to get the decat back in and all tightened up. Once it's in the rubber hanger, I lined it up and got the bolts back in. Not forgetting to plug the sensor back in. I got the exhaust bolts fully tightened up and that's the install done. Okay, so that is everything all buttoned up nice and tight. Not too bad of an install. The fiddliest things for me was just getting the bolts back in on the new downpipe, but once they're in, it's pretty easy. I've left all this off just so I can double check it. I'm going to start it up now, check for leaks, and then we'll go for a nice drive and get some clips. So there we have it then, that is the 3-inch KMS downpipe installed. I'm super happy with it. Again, the build quality from KMS is just spot on and the install was not too bad. Let me know if you learned something. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.